story to tell. I grew up in a congregational church in the northern suburbs of Chicago, and I went off to college. And I must admit that God and church were not my primary focus of attention. However, upon coming to Wisconsin, I at least somewhat reconnected with church, and I joined the First Church over in Wauwatosa, and I was there for over 40 years. And of course, I was a model Christian, as I'm sure you would all expect. We went to church regularly. My 3 sons attended Sunday school. I served on the board of deacons and a couple other committees and so forth, and we provided some financial support. I was doing my duty. What more is there? Well, this limited understanding of Christian living has sometimes been referred to as being a cultural Christian, and I was a cultural Christian. Then things began to change. I participated in a discussion group on Arthur Rauner's book, The Congregational Way of Life, which is a classic on congregationalism. And I would urge, if you have interest in congregationalism, you would read this book. I would consider it to be a must. But this opened a whole new vista to me as to what church should be about. There must be more to church than what I had been experiencing. However, over time, little changed. And for this and other reasons, Liz and I decided to start looking elsewhere. Then came that infamous letter from Dick Vitek, inviting people to participate in the planting of a new church. Liz and I kind of scoffed. This is nuts. We're going to go elsewhere. But then your senior pastor's Machiavellian streak emerged. He knew I was not overly interested at all in becoming a part of a new church, but he knew of my interest in congregationalism. So he asked me to help draft the bylaws and the Constitution of the church from a congregationalist perspective. I was hooked. And then Liz and I was hooked, and then Liz and I were also hooked by kind of being involved, and people gathered in this endeavor, and thus began my journey with Fox River. As we head into our 10-year celebration, Lonnie set forth the theme of telling our story, celebrating our faith, and casting our vision. These elements do not reflect 3 separate, isolated strands. In the context of our church, not only in our church, but also in my own personal situation, the elements of story, faith, and vision are very closely integrated. My story here at Fox River is significantly focused on vision, and this has greatly impacted my faith. Early on, Lonnie asked me to lead the Vision Task Force, and the fruits of the labor of this task force were our mission, our covenant, our core values, our vision statement for the expectancy of the future of our church. And particularly impactful on me is the founding of our mission and our covenant on the 2 great commandments of loving God and loving others, and on Christ's great commission, calling upon us to make disciples, to reach out to the unchurched, to foster spiritual growth, and to baptize people in the fellowship of believers. The shorthand version can be expressed as worship, discipleship, fellowship, service, and evangelism. And I would urge, if you haven't already done so, when you enter the church, outside there's a plaque to the right of the front door with the words, worship, service, discipleship, fellowship, and evangelism. The visioning process here at Fox River Church did not end with these efforts. More recently, Lonnie asked me to lead the task force on becoming a more effective disciple-making church. Among other things, the task force developed a disciple-making mission statement. This statement is also founded on the 2 great commandments and the Great Commission. And it offers a more specific path in guiding the church as a whole, and each of us individually in our walk with Christ. In short, the church is to equip, support, encourage us to grow into more Christ-like lives in our thoughts and in our feelings and in our actions. By 4 connections. By connecting with God through the practice of spiritual discipline, by connecting with other believers through sharing life together, by connecting with both believers and unbelievers through service, and by connecting with the unchurched through outreach or evangelism. A major part of my story is the parallel between the vision of our church and my own understanding of the way for my own personal spiritual growth. One last quick observation before concluding. Over the past 10 years, I've had the privilege of leading and participating on the accountability team, the discipleship team, the evangelism team, as well as the vision task force and the disciple-making task force. Such involvement has been far more than simply undertaking a task and trying to accomplish this particular thing or that particular thing. The fellowship developed in a smaller group context. The greater understanding which is involved in following Christ, and the sense of serving others have in some way all contributed to becoming a more fully devoted follower of Christ. Not as a matter of duty, but as an outgrowth of love. I'll take a side here and make an advertisement. We will be having an election meeting coming up in June where all of us have an opportunity to offer and become participants in one of the various teams or committees. And I would urge you seriously consider and do this, because you may find it be a very integral part in your own spiritual growth. My faith and my love for others has grown geometrically since coming to Fox River. Although only at the beginning I have come away in my walk with Christ from the time when I was simply a cultural Christian occasionally attending worship, contributing a little money and helping perform a task here or there. I strongly suspect that in some ways the stories of my growth experience have also been true for many, or if not most of you here at Fox River. At the same time, however, I must confess that I have a very long way to go. Nevertheless, for me, it has been a wonderful journey, growing towards a more Christ-like life in thoughts, feelings, and actions. And to the extent I have done so, and it's only a start, but the extent that I have done so has primarily occurred in the context of and parallel with the story, the faith, and the vision here at Fox River. I ask for your prayers for Liz and myself as we continue our walk, for our senior pastor, and for our church, which has become so